So we have quite a number of stories that we're dealing with here. And the Ghana Union of Professional Students is calling on utility service providers to bill all commercial outlets, staff bungalows, churches, and all tertiary institutions across the country. In a statement signed by the National President, Elon Mauli Kwau, the student union is asking the Ministry of Education to initiate stringent regulation on the use of electrical appliances in public tertiary institutions. The statement further charged the Vice Chancellors to also initiate measures to regulate the number of appliances used in the institutions. And the National President, Elon Mauli, will be joining us on the phone now. Yeah, and we have on the phone line now the President of the Ghana Union of Professional Students, Elon Mauli Kwau. Hi, Elon, good evening.
Good evening, Bridget. Good evening to all professional students listening to us.
Right. Why is it important? Why have you taken this stand?
Very well. This issue is very simple. As much as we are students and we seem to be defending our position, which is to tell government that the cost of utility cannot be borne by students, we have gone ahead a step further to present a policy proposal letter to the Ministry of Education as to steps they can take to arrest this issue immediately.
Okay. Well, first of all, share with me, on campus, what's some of the appliances that you think are outrageous that students are using?
Very well. Now, I would not go far to the University of Ghana. You go to some of these traditional halls and you see some students living there like they are living in their homes. Some of them have air conditions in their rooms. You have 4 students using 4 fridges, multiple laptops, charging all manner of phones. Now, one thing we need to understand is that the subvention that government extends to us has a limit. And if it is stretched beyond the discipline, it increases the debt stock of the country. Now, we are saying government is borrowing too much, government is borrowing, but what are we doing as students to help government? Because in one way or the other, if we take an entrenched position that we will not pay and we do not prefer solutions, what it means is that we would come back to this same position 3 to 4, 5 years again. So we are calling for a directive to VC Ghana, auditors, and government that they must institute a regulation in the number of appliances that these students use in the traditional halls. Now, quickly go to the second cycle institutions. Why is it that government doesn't have any problem with them? Because the directives there are strict, succinct, and they make sure that the rules are strictly adhered to. You come to school, you bring box iron, you want to watch television, you go to the assembly hall. So rules are in place. That is the same thing we want to be replicated in the traditional halls in the universities.
All right. So say if the policy says you bring an iron, for instance, and that's, let's say, the minimum, any other thing the student should be charged?
Yes. Now, that brings us to also the utility service providers. I was listening to Stanley Mante yesterday. He happens to be the Director of Communications for the Ghana Water Company. And
yes,
he said explicitly that they charge University of Ghana as a whole. What that means is that the university authorities have the discretion to spread the cost across how they deem fit. What this means is that they would insulate some dean of students, some senior lecturers, some heads of departments, and even the university authorities operate private businesses. So how do you know or measure that these private businesses are catered for, or they don't push the cost to the students in terms of academic user facilities? The modus operandi of the utility service providers must come out clearly and tell us who is paying for this and what they are paying for. All
right. Elon, tell me, you issued a statement. Have you made this formally? Have you presented it formally to the government?
Yes, I presented a policy proposal letter to the Deputy Minister for Tertiary Education, Honorable Kujata Blaka. I understand he's not in the office at the moment, but the letter is with the Secretary. Now, in that letter captures synopsis of our comprehensive policy that we feel that the Ghana Union Professional Students can advance.
Well made. So I'd like to thank you. Elam would like to thank you very much. Elam is the president of the Ghana Union of Professional Students, and they are asking that all commercial outlets, staff bungalows, churches and all tertiary institutions across the country, they must be billed, and also regulates the appliances used by students. If you're on Twitter or Facebook, you can join the conversation. Tweet at me, Bridget_O2, and I'll read your thoughts on it with the stance taken by the GUPS, Ghana Union of Professional Students. And if you're willing to pay for it, especially if you have your power bank, your 3 mobile phones, microwave, air conditioners, and the like. Students are living luxurious life on campuses. Share with us on Facebook and Twitter. Now we'll move on to another subject, and the Community Health Nurses Association of Ghana says it will drag the Ministry of Health and the National Midwifery Council to court for changing their name to assistant nurses. Now, the group has described the change of name as a contravention to Act 191, which sets up community nursing, and will, in the next 14 days, lay down their tools if government delays in resolving this problem.
The Community Health Nurses Association claimed the National Midwifery Council, through other government agencies, have changed their name to assistant nurses. The group has described that as unacceptable and has threatened a legal action against the Midwifery Council and the Ministry of Health.
We have suffered discrimination and frustration for far too long and will not sit down for this demotion to be carried out. We are by this press conference appealing once again to the Honorable Minister of Health, the Parliament of Ghana, the Director General of Ghana Health Service, and other major stakeholders of health to halt the change of name from community health nurse to nurse assistant.
Again, the group, numbering about 12,000 across the country, has given government 14 days to resolve this problem or face a legal action.
We are therefore giving the National Midwifery Council and the Minister 14 days to reinstate our name, or else this will be followed by 1. A peaceful demonstration, 2. A lay down of our tools, 3. Court intervention.
The community nurses once again stated that certificates issued to them after training does not commensurate with an assistant nurse.
And the president of the Community Health Nurses Association, Esther BAMFO, has joined us in the studio. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. The question is, what's in a name? What's in a name? Yes, community health nurses, assistant nurses. How is that demeaning?
Thank you, Auntie Bridget. Good evening, viewers of TV3 and my people out there, community health nurses.
Okay.
Yeah, it's demeaning and it's a total demotion. When he says somebody is a nurse assistant, when it means the nursing is not a nurse at all. But we are trained as community health nurses. So to get up one day and say you are a nurse assistant.
Before you continue, if someone is assistant headmaster, they are in line to becoming headmasters.
Yeah.
And when the headmaster is not there, acting headmaster and headmaster. How different is the community health nurses becoming assistant nurses? How is that demeanor? I'm still struggling to understand.
Thank you. Assistant headmaster is there. It's in line. You become assistant before the headmaster.
Yes.
But ours, we are community health nurses before going down. The assistant headmaster starts as an assistant and climbs up. But you don't go up and then come down.
So are you saying the community health nurses and the Ghana registered nurses, the nurses we have, are all on the same level?
No. Community health nurses, our work is purely on public health. That's preventive.
Okay.
And then RGN, they are also purely into clinicals.
Okay.
Or curative.
Okay. What responsibilities will be assigned to the assistant nurses? Does that in any way change the functions you perform as community health nurses?
Yes. If we should go by that name, then it means what we are doing right now, we can't do. We should stop it. And then they should reassign us a different job.
Okay. So let me backtrack then and ask you, how did we arrive as the assistant nurses? Did they make the proposals to you, and what went into the discussion?
Thank you, Auntie Bridget. For that one, nothing went in like that. We heard it, but we thought if it is true, we'll be called, and then discussions will go on. But we didn't hear anything until one day I was discussing it at my facility with my other community health nurses. Lo and behold, they said, oh, Mommy, there is a copy of that circular here. So they went in and brought it, and I went through. The following morning, information went around. I communicated to my people, and then we gathered. We wrote to NMC somewhere May. So 2nd June, they also invited
the National Midwifery Council?
Nursing and Midwifery Council, yeah.
Yes.
So we had their letter inviting us for a meeting. So the meeting came on the 11th of June. So we asked them why they are changing their name, and we are not aware, so they should clarify it. So there they said it was Attorney General, it was Parliament, blah, blah. So my Greater Accra president asked, you are our regulators. So when they tried to change them, didn't they consult you? And they said, oh, with consultation they did. And
but
we
you
said,
were not consulted.
No, committee on nurses were not consulted.
So who did they consult when they said consultations took place?
They said Parliament and Attorney General's office consulted the Nursing and Midwifery Council.
Okay.
But we that are going to be affected, we're not consulted. So we told them that their explanation, we still not accept it. Then the registrar asked us to write further clarification to the council's board. So we did that letter that very day. And then on the 12th of June, we presented it. I even went to the office myself to present the letter.
And what did they say?
I traveled. So when I came back, there was nothing. So we gave them a reminder in July. From that one, we didn't hear anything. So we gave the case to our lawyer. We went to Parliament then to ask whether they are aware of it and why the change of name.
Okay.
But we were told that they don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I went to the Attorney General's office. I was asked to write. So Parliament also asked us to petition the minister and then copy Parliament. So we wrote the petition. Our lawyer even wrote the petition on our behalf.
All right.
In August, 10th August, and we presented it. At that time, Parliament was on recess. So we sent this. We didn't hear anything. So last September 28th, another ultimatum was given to the minister. This time it was the minister because we think he is the father and he has the authority over all of us. So we gave that ultimatum to the minister on 28th September. We gave 7 days.
Okay.
And up to today, or until yesterday, we didn't hear anything. That is why we went on
the
press conference. Yes.
Okay. And we will go on the phone line, speak to the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, their president. But even before we go there, does that in any way affect your remunerations?
Yes.
It does? How? Does it go up? Does it go down?
For our remuneration, yes. For now, there hasn't been any change, but the fear of the future. We're in this country, when we're working as community health nurses, when I completed school, I was given a professional identification number. When it was about money, we were told we are auxiliary nurses. So we came back, or we were dropped. That was when we started with career progression issue. Now, if we say we are nurse assistant, today it might not have effect. But tomorrow, there again, condition of service for nurses, when we sat down to look at it, there is no place for such nurses called nurse assistant. Even being a community health nurse, you have to rise to a certain position before you can get some benefits. So that is in terms of remuneration. Career progression, as we are speaking, we have fought for career community health nursing has been a certificate since 1960.
But I'm thinking should, like you said, I'm thinking this should be a progression. You should see this as a progression.
Nursing assistant, community health nurse, and then you are dropped to become a nurse assistant.
We're speaking to your mother union, the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, ASANTE, Nana ASANTE KROBEA. Very good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. You're live on TV3.
Yeah, good evening.
All right. I would imagine this has come to you.
Well, we just heard that this ultimatum has been released to the Nursing and Midwifery Council to change the name, to refrain from going ahead with the changing of the name.
Yeah, but prior to that, had you received any letter from them?
Well, not the GRNA, but they had written to the Nursing and Midwifery Council, the body I happen to be a member of, and so we discussed it.
Okay, and but they are saying they were not consulted in the change of name, and that the change of name is a demotion and a disrespect to the community health nurses.
Yes, which I take exception to, because you see, I don't think in the first place that they have to be consulted before the name is changed. But even the larger body, which is the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, was not consulted. We were only informed. And for all I know, the Nursing and Midwifery Council was acting in accordance with the LI that brought into being the Health Professionals Regulatory Body into being. And so they were doing just what was right, after which they will inform the bodies that are needed to be informed.
Okay.
And that includes the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. So we just received information that this had been done. Of course, on the table at the time that this was being discussed at the board meeting of the Nursing and Midwifery Council, I was there, and this was discussed, and then thereafter, the significant stakeholders were also informed.
Okay.
And for us as GRNA, we believe that the Community Health Nurses Group is part of us. So at one council meeting that was convened, where we called all the affiliate bodies, we made this known. And perhaps that was the first time the Community Health Nurses heard it. And the leader of the group actually wasn't there at the meeting, but a representative of the Community Health Nurses was there, and this was discussed. Even the
okay.
Copies
why
of
is
the
it important
certificates that were to be issued to them was displayed at the meeting, and everybody saw it.
Okay. Why is it important to have the name changed?
Well, so says the LI. So I don't think that the Nursing and Midwifery Council was doing something out of hems and carpets.
Oh, so, you mean the LI mandates you to change the name?
Well, that's exactly so.
Okay.
The Health Professionals Regulatory Bodies Act 857, 2013, said that if a category of health professionals within the nursing fraternity are trained below a certain level, they are to be called nurse assistants. And that's exactly what the NMC has done.
Okay, all right. Nana ASANTE KROBEA, thank you very much for joining us here. He's the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. I mean, you heard him that indeed consultation, well, yeah, you ought to be informed because, yeah, you're community health nurse, but it is not by force, if I should put it in a layman's way. It's not, you know, they can do without that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what they are saying. And we think it's not the best.
What would be good for you?
At least consult us.
I mean, we've had that. We've crossed that. But what would be good? Asking. So, what you still want to be called community health?
Yes,
nurses?
we want the name to be reinstated.
Why?
Nothing more, nothing less.
Why?
Auntie Bridget, a name that has been there since 1960.
Change is good.
Change is good, but we change to go up. We change for the better, but not change for the worst, and not change to go down.
But you just told me it won't affect your salaries.
it won't affect our salaries, but our career progression. As we are speaking, KNUST has signed an MOU for diploma top-up for community health nurses, which we started fighting for this thing since 2011. Thanks be to God, it materialized this year. So in the books of KNUST, they know that they are doing a diploma top-up for a community health nurse.
So now,
tomorrow, should somebody go with nurse assistant, they can refuse to say that.
No, but
they don't know you.
Then it means that KNUST will also have to update. Because if it's, I mean, you're changing the law, it affects everything, because the rippling effect goes back to the roots.
Then if that should be the case, they should have called all those people on board. Oh, we signed an MOU with this name. But because of reason A, B, C, D, we are now changing the name. So you change your document as such. When this thing happened, I was out with the Vice Chancellor. And I told him that now I'm hearing that they said they are changing our name to nurse assistant. And he said, then what are they trying to tell us? That was the comment he made.
How many members are we talking about? How many are you?
Over 12,000.
Over 12,000.
Yes.
Okay. Share with us some of the things you're doing when you go to the community health nurse, some of the functions.
Functions. Let's talk about EPI, Expanded Program on Immunization. It's in the shoulders of community health nurses. We do family planning, child welfare clinics. We assist in postnatal, antenatal, now deliveries. Now in the introduction of the CHIPS compound, I would say that community health nurse does everything. They are doctors, medical assistants, midwives, community health nurse on their virtually they do everything, especially in the rural areas and even some of the hospitals. It will interest you to know I was at campus, St. Joseph's Hospital, right in Ifijase. Community health nurses are there working perfectly, even more than RGNs. And when they told me the kind of work they are doing,
RGNs,
registered
nurses.
General nurses.
Right.
But when it comes to remuneration, then they tell them that you are a community health nurse.
But isn't that why you see a window of opportunity here where you become an assistant nurse, you become a nurse, and you get the same thing, you won't be discriminated
no,
against?
that nurse they are talking about, let me tell you, Auntie Bridget. Community health nurses.
Bridget is fine.
Yeah, thank you. The training is such that we are purely, the scope of work is different.
Sure.
We are purely public health. Just that now we do part of GRNA, that is curative.
That is changed.
And RGN is purely curative or clinical, and then a little public health.
Okay.
So, community health, instead of us rising through that ranks, then the RGN will go to the RGN 3 years, work small, then go to do midwifery, then go to do public health, then they cross carpet. Then always we are down. Then they will rise from this side and then come in front of us. So always we are there.
So what sort of progression is how is the not the organogram, but how do you rise within the community health?
Until now, it is 2 year certificate, and you are there until you retire and die. You become. For school, academically, you can't go anywhere.
What way
unless you change or you write.
Become a regular nurse.
That is it. You write whether it is the English or whatever, and then maybe if you want to shift from community, then you go. Otherwise, you are a community health nurse. You become senior community health nurse, principal community health nurse, and then you retire superintendent community health.
All right, maybe there has to be proper dialogue. But you're saying that you're giving them 14 days.
Yes.
After that, you're laying down your tools.
Mm-hmm.
But has the ministry responded?
Oh, no, we haven't heard anything. Yeah, okay. PRO called me this afternoon that they wanted to schedule for a meeting.
Okay.
And later he called and said probably Monday.
Do you think that if they had consulted you, spoken to you and said this is progression is not demotion, and with this you don't have to do any other course or change and become a regular nurse and do you think it would have helped in eliminating some of the doubt you have about becoming an assistant nurse?
Maybe.
You see, there's hope there. So thank you, Esther BAMFO, is the president of the Community Health Nurses Association of Ghana, for joining us in the studio. They've given government 14 days, but already the ministry has responded, and we'll definitely follow that and see what comes out of the deliberations. And you can also join us with your thoughts on it on social media platforms at News on TV3, or tweet at me, Bridget_O2. Later we'll open the phone line 0302 763 450. You're live on TV3. It's News at 10. We're back with more.